Welcome to another edition of Points After Thursday, right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We are coming off a 44-30 victory by the Detroit Lions against the upstart Dallas Cowboys, who are trying to get into the thick of it. We had big fantasy performances from Jahmyr Gibbs, 37 points. We had Dak Prescott with 20 plus. We got a shout out. Fantasy Meatball, K1G, just became a member. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for becoming a member. Anytime anybody these hiccups are crazy. Anytime anybody wants to do a super chat, those get prioritized. You talk for a while, Mike. I'm gonna deal with it.
You need to deal with those hiccups there, Biggs, and we got to deal with the dust that is settled after this one. And, the wide receiver one in Dallas, Ryan Flournoy, has emerged once again. Wait a second. I was supposed to say George Pickens, wasn't I? But I did not. Pickens had an off game here, 5 for 37 on 9 targets. But really, what happened with Ryan Flournoy there, Biggs? 9 for 115 and a touchdown on 13 targets. The most targeted player on the Dallas Cowboys tonight. And that was a kind of a surprise one for me.
Yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb goes out with a concussion. Some of the wild stuff that I saw on Twitter tonight, I tweeted out. Let's see if I can find this one. It was a bang bang. Ron Stewart at Ron Stewart. There is such a lack of effort and attention to detail from George Pickens tonight. And then AWL Sabermetrics. Shout out Dan, Undroppables.
Bradley.
Pickens has had a ton of really half-ass routes tonight. Those were bang bang tweets on my timeline. Apparently, the world was noticing George Pickens was being lazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a game where everything was on the line, that's kind of not what you want to hear about a potential, wide receiver you're potentially looking to sign next year. So interesting, take, I guess. I mean,
let me just shout out FSAN's own Joe Frick. George Pickens on plays he doesn't think he's getting the ball. Trump falling asleep. Friend of the show, Mike Florio, met him a few times at the Fantasy Expo. George's fantasy managers are getting upset. He finished with single-digit fantasy points for the first time since week 1. This was a must-win game for the Cowboys, and they did not show up. At one point, when we were recording, the Cowboys were down something to 6, like double digits, and I was thinking, somebody tell the Cowboys they're playing tonight. Because they don't look like they notice.
Yeah. I mean, in a game where, the Lions were less than 100%, it seemed, and they were just all over them. They let Jahmyr Gibbs go off, like you mentioned, 3 touchdowns, a huge performance on that end. And not so much out of, Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he was there when they needed him. 6 for 92, pretty great game when you consider the ankle injury. And many of us were hoping for another big one from Jameson Williams. Still a respectable game. He had that touchdown that was called back there. Slight of the 1 yard line there, 7 for 96. And had that he scored that touchdown, that would have been probably a wide receiver 1 finish for the week for him. Isaac Tesla, another
Tesla
for him. He's becoming just a red zone target for this team, and a guy that you were always on this offseason. And some of us had him pegged as the waiver wire pickup. You mentioned a guy, Kennedy, who would have been slotted right in.
Kennedy.
Yeah. I mean, he would have slotted right into, Amon-Ra's workload. But yeah.
And Amon-Ra, 6 for 92 is respectable. That's 15 points in PPR. So not a shabby night. Albert Mataqueen, hello everyone. Hello to you, Sir Albert. Thank you for tuning in once again. Always a faithful. We thank you for that. Yeah, we talked about Tom. What's his name? I talked about Tom. What's his name
Tom
on
Kennedy.
Tom Kennedy. I keep wanting to say Tom Cooper, but it's Tom Kennedy. I was talking about him on our forecast waiver wire show, and he was a priority waiver ad simply because of the questionable status of Amon-Ra St. Brown. My sent me a text earlier today because followers of the show know that my brother asks me who he should start and sit, and I didn't mention Tom Kennedy, but he asked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, and right when he asked me, that was when the video was coming out about Amon-Ra practicing and for the game tonight, and he looked absolutely electric in the videos. And so I told him, throw him in your lineup. 15 points. It's not a weak winner, but it is absolutely a great floor and doesn't hurt. So congrats on everybody that started Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got to be paying attention and stuff on a Thursday, especially when have like you're supposed to take players out of your flex. You don't know what's going on really with injuries. So because the Lions played last Thursday on Thanksgiving, because Amon-Ra played last on American Thanksgiving last Thursday, he did have a full week of rest. So this is basically like somebody who skipped Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practices and then showed up as from questionable to he's starting on a Sunday. So hopefully you all reacted to that in the proper manner and got him into your lineups and got that 15-point floor in your flex, because your wide receiver 1 and 2 were filled up by other guys that you absolutely knew were going to be playing this weekend. So yeah, shout out and hashtag Nevada boys. Shout out Jared Goff going out there and taking care of business. Detroit Lions back in the thick of it. And the Cowboys, they're one of those teams where with their one tie, they might wind up like an 8-8 team in the playoffs, or a 9-7 team, 9-7-1, 9. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 9-7
They,
and 1.
they're gonna wind up in the playoffs at like 9-7-1 or 8-8-1, something like that. I think they'll get there, but they're certainly not what you call consistent.
No, certainly not. Now, let's move on to some of the games this weekend. Some big time implications. We've got 3 divisions up for grabs here, and let's talk about the Indy Jags game, because that's going to have a lot of playoff implications. Both these teams are vying for that division lead, and it's in Jacksonville. Tough matchup there on the ground for Etienne, but nice matchup for Strange. Talk to me a little bit about what you're looking for on the Indy side of things there, Biggs, and if there is an exploitable matchup here, because we know that the Jags are really tight against the run, and maybe Jonathan Taylor's in tight this week.
Yeah, so I'm fading Jonathan Taylor, especially in DFS. Obviously, in fantasy, you have to start Jonathan Taylor, but he was one of my candidates for putting on the sits list. I just couldn't do it. He has been kind of matchup proof this year already. I'm looking for Tyler Warren to have a big breakout game. I need Michael Pittman to have a good game, and Alec Pierce is always a wild card in that Colts offense, in that he is not a first read guy. So he's going to be an emergency target for Daniel Jones, and he's going to be down the field. So if Daniel Jones can get through his reads to Alec Pierce might have a good game. Say the Jaguars lock up Tyler Warren a little bit. Now, the Jaguars are like pretty generous against tight ends in fantasy, so I expect Tyler Warren to have a good game. But if this becomes one of those games that you're not expecting analytically, and they do kind of lock down Tyler Warren a little bit, Alec Pierce as like a third read down the field, he could have one of those games where he has 3 catches, 80 to 120 yards, maybe a touchdown thrown in there. I love Alec Pierce so much. Alec Pierce is what Jameson Williams has turned into, and the potential is there. and they moved on from AD Mitchell simply because they had Alec Pierce at home, and they know what they have with him, and they like him, and I like him too. He's kind of up and down. I love him more in best ball, but this could be one of those weeks where he becomes one of those options if Pittman and Tyler Warren are shut down, and they need to throw the ball a lot because Jonathan Taylor isn't getting a good run.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I like your analysis there, Biggs. You broke that down real good for us. And looking at this Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens game, another divisional game where I think the winner of this one has a clear shot at the lead here. Looking at Lamar Jackson, not quite the same. He is actually hurting your fantasy teams over the last couple of weeks here if you're starting him. This matchup, if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, would have been one I had been circled on my calendar as a smash spot for Lamar, seeing how weak the Steelers' past defenses have been. Schultze's still pretty optimistic about what Lamar can do in this game. He's got Zay Flowers as the start of the week this week. What's your take on Lamar? I don't think he's got that mobility right now. Obviously, he's not rushing to the extent as he has in the past. So that's obviously capping his ceiling and maybe, minimizing the game plan around him. It's going to make defenses a little bit less worried about the run, so it's able to minimize the pass here a bit more. What's your take on Lamar? Is it just an injury thing, or is this something that we got to worry about now? Because we talked about it a lot, and he's just not right.
So anytime somebody misses time with injury, there is a point where they come back fully. And you can look at the last few weeks of Lamar Jackson's play and say, okay, he's been hampered by his injury. He hasn't been fully back. There is a point where he's going to be fully back. But when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, as far as their win-loss record, the way that they win games in real life, Lamar Jackson has a lot to do with that, with his ability to play off platform. When you look at the weapons that they have in-house, Zay Flowers is a good possession receiver. Mark Andrews is an elite tight end, sometimes underutilized. Isaiah Likely is one of those wild cards. You got Rashad Bateman, who can spike every once in a while. And you look at their backfield, and they got Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell, who's an underused guy that is absolutely explosive. So it's not like they have to win with Lamar. It's just that's kind of what happens. I feel like this game becomes a shootout. It's a division game. The Steelers and the Ravens play in the same division. They always head to head. They get after each other. I like the game for Lamar. I like the game for all of the Baltimore assets. And I like the Steelers too. The Ravens have always been a defense first team, and it feels like this is one of those years that they've kind of been down on defense. Steelers, same. They've always been real high on defense. It seems like they're kind of down too. Shout out to Steelers Depot. This tweet cracked me up. First practice for new Steelers wide receiver Adam Thielen in the black and gold. Hopefully he can learn all 6 running plays and all 6 passing plays before Sunday. That's definitely a slander on Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. But yeah, so I'm in on Rodgers this weekend. I'm in on DK Metcalf. I'm in on Tyler Warren simply because the Ravens defense has been kind of softer than normal. And then I'm in on all of the Ravens. I think this is going to be a pretty high scoring game, even in a cold weather game in that division. When you get into December in that division, you kind of expect low scoring games, but I think both of them are going to be slinging because they're both in it for the fight.
Yeah. So to me, one of the games of the week here has got to be the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. I mean, so much implications here. I'm joking. Really talking about the Bengals
Raiders and the Broncos, right?
Yeah. The Bills and the Bengals are big. Joe Burrow looked pretty good coming off of that injury in his first game back, and they're in the driver's seat now. They have an opportunity here to really make a statement, make the playoffs. and it starts here in a tough matchup against the Buffalo Bills. But what's your take on Joe Burrow this week? I'm really high on obviously Jamar Chase. I think this is going to be a week where he's back to his wide receiver one upside here, but not much around him. With T. Higgins potentially not playing again, and you got Chase Brown, who's looking really good. I like this position for Joe Burrow even in a tough matchup against the Bills. What's your thoughts?
Well, let's talk about another defense that has traditionally been pretty stout, but this year has not been quite as good against the pass as they've been in recent years, and that's the Buffalo Bills. And then you have Joe Burrow, who's just the absolute gunslinger in the NFL. Now, I alluded to this on the fantasy forecast, which will be dropping. I don't remember which episode. It was either the sits or the starts. So either Friday or Saturday. But in a dynasty league that I'm in, I got a trade offer today. I have Jackson Dart and Drake May, both of them out on bye this week. And I'm kind of jostling for playoff position. And somebody offered me DK Metcalf, Matthew Stafford, I think. I can't go, and Brock Purdy. So it basically like fills up my quarterback spots this week, which I desperately needed, even though in a dynasty I had to get off of Drake May and Jackson Dart. So I accepted, and that scares me a little bit. No, it was Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy. So Burrow slots into my lineup. He's going to have a good week against the Buffalo Bills, and it's Joe Burr. Like he's good. Brock Purdy is on a bye this week. He's going to come back next week. And I have CJ Stroud to slot into the super flex spot. It wasn't a trade that I liked to make, but at this point in the playoff kind of push, it was something that I felt was necessary. And one of the things that happens in your brain when you go into a cognitive dissonance is I thought in my head, well, Jackson Dart is going to be concussed through the rest of his career. So it legitimized my being able to make that trade. The bottom line is it was Joe Burrow. I'm going to have a good week because I went and got Joe Burrow.
Yeah. All right. One more big game here that we need to hit up for sure. And that's the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. Green Bay Packers, 6.5-point favorites at home against the number one team in the NFC. And this game has got tight written all over it, in my opinion. I think this is going to be a hard fought battle. The Bears playing really good football right now, led by their two running backs, and Manungai popped up on the injury report here this week. So folks, if you are looking at his status, keep your eye on him, because against a tough Packers defense, I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Bears in general. What's your take on this game? The Bears surprised last week with a monster one up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously their run defense isn't quite what the Packers are. So what's your take? Where do you see this game headed?
So this is where I see the Bears this year. There's an old adage in baseball where you are going to win 60 games. You're going to lose 60 games. So it's the other 42 games that you really like make your claim. You stake your claim in how you're going to do in the postseason or what have you. The Bears analytically are not good. And Caleb Williams has proven over the last 30 weeks that when it comes to tough matchups, he kind of shrinks. He exploits good matchups, and he does really well. And we talked about this in the starts and sit shows. We talked about this a month and a half ago on the Waiver show. So fantasy forecast watchers will understand my perception of Caleb Williams. I was not in on him coming out as the 101. I knew that he needed some time before he was going to become a fully realized NFL quarterback. That still has not taken place. When you are a fully realized quarterback, it does not matter what your matchup is. If you're going up against a team that, say, is the best team defense against fantasy points for quarterbacks, you're still going to have your 20, 25 point game. Caleb Williams is not that guy, not at this point. So we've seen over the course of the season how when he has bad matchups, he scores in the single digits. When he has good matchups, he can exploit that, and he becomes what people like to think as a good quarterback. This is a tough matchup for him. This Green Bay defense is really, really good. They're very well coached. They're consistent. They've been around for a couple of years. And when you break down the analytics of the DVOA per play of the Chicago Bears, they are not playing as good as their record indicates.
Mm-hmm.
So with that baseball theory of you lose 60, you win 60, it's the other 42, they've become extremely lucky in some of those other 42. There's not a way to quantify that adage to the NFL, because you look at teams like 1-win Tennessee, 2-win Las Vegas, 2-win New York. You can't really like say the same thing where it's like, okay, you're going to win 6, you're going to lose 6. It's what you do with the other 11 or 5 that puts you in the playoffs. You can't really do that. You can look at the NFL and MLB seasons as every 10 MLB games is 1 week in the NFL, but you can't really like make an equivalence with that kind of 60-60-42 thing. With that said, the Bears are kind of a paper tiger at this point. And I don't see them coming out ahead. I see Caleb Williams having a bad game. Romo Dunze is banged up. I think this is a runaway victory for the Packers, and I really like Dontavian Wicks. I really like Christian Watson. I really like Romeo Doubs, Jordan Love in this game, and Josh Jacobs.
Love it. Yeah, I completely agree with you in this one, and yeah, the game script going to be tough for Caleb, and I had him as the sit of the week. Spoiler alert. So if you want to tune in and get the full breakdown tomorrow,
if you want to tune in, it's not about want. Tune in.
Tune in, or we'll tune in. All right. Interesting setup here, if you ask me, in this Washington Viking game. Be interested. This is a sneaky one to me. I think, potentially with Jaden Daniels coming back, JJ McCarthy coming back, both these defenses not playing at the top of their game. So I could see this being an over. And, you mentioned the Vikings running backs on one of our shows being a very good teaser. Yes. Like, what's your take on the
Starts show? Watch our Starts show on Saturday.
You bet. So let's avoid the Vikings there and talk a little bit more about the Commanders and Biggs. What's your thought? Like, you think Jaden plays this week? And we saw a really monster game from Terry McLaurin his first game back, and many guys in this space are talking about him being a league winner here on out. What's your take on Jaden? And do you think he has that potential to go alongside as Terry McLaurin being league winners, here on out?
Yeah. So Jaden he practiced fully on today. So you throw out Terry McLaurin is fully healthy. He had a great game last week. Deebo Samuel is there as a complimentary player. Zach Ertz is definitely like a go-to escape project for Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels runs. And then you have Chris Rodriguez, who's been extremely efficient in the run game. Minnesota is a pretty tough matchup fantasy-wise, but with JJ McCarthy out there against a pretty poor Washington defense, I think Minnesota scores quite a bit, and I think Washington keeps up with them. And this is one of those games that, like you said, I think hits the over. I think both teams have fantasy weapons that are going to be hitting, and I'm firing up everybody. I had Terry McLaurin on a couple of benches last week inadvertently. Like I kind of missed the news right before the game, and he wound up staying on my bench. But I'm fine. I made sure that he's in every lineup this week. I have one lineup where I have both Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel in it. Jaden Daniels, I'm expecting to play, so I've slotted him in everywhere that I have him. And yeah, I think both teams are gonna score pretty well. You know where I stand on JJ McCarthy, and for anybody to have a get right game, it's got to be against this Washington defense.
Yeah, and book is not out yet on JJ, so hopefully we can see some progress, some optimism here.
JJ McCarthy is the Sam Howell of Sam Darnold's.
Perfect. All right. I'm beat, man. I'm ready for some bedtime here. So yeah. It's been a long day. It's been a long weekend. We got a lot to cover over the weekend here, so stay tuned to everything we got going on FSAN. And speaking of which, Biggs, why don't you wrap us up for the probably fifth time today?
Did you see I fixed my head? I'm not so far back anymore. I actually figured out how to get into my camera settings after the new update. Hey,
it's all those BBCs.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all those things. Go to Fantasy Football, Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Cop some sick merch. We got sweatshirts, we got hats, we got t-shirts, we got everything that you want to outfit your body, to show everybody that you are a fantasy degenerate and just like us. We also have shows. This is playoff season, baby. We got playoffs happening this week. I have a bye in a couple of different leagues. We've got playoff cusp week this week where some of our teams are fighting to get that last spot before the week starts in week 15 for fantasy. So stay tuned to all of our shows. This is the Points After Thursday. Tomorrow is our sit show on the Fantasy Forecast, along with the Dynasty Pulse show. We talk a lot about college quarterbacks and stuff like that, college players, whatever, with the Devi Dojo guys the last couple weeks. But stay tuned for that because, if you play Dynasty starts in high school. So you're going to want to get in on that. Saturday will be the Fantasy Forecast Start Show. 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning, starts and sits. Breakfast with Biggs. That's 11:30 East Coast, 8:30 West Coast. And I've been teasing this all day today. Do you want to see me put BBC in my mouth? Then you're going to want to tune into that show. So that's starts and sits on Sunday morning. Then Tuesday, we drop our waiver wire and weekend recap show. And then next week, follow it up. Points After Thursday for your Week 16 starts and sits decisions, and all the content here on fantasysportsadvice.com. Also, stay tuned for Spilled Coffee, Devi Dojo, from the forum, all of the shows that we have here. We've got all of the content that you need to make you champions, and you will win.
You will win, folks, and we'll see you next week. So peace out and enjoy week 14 because we will later.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySports